So first of all, I need to admit that the first time when someone is trying to simultaneously translate my English into another language, so my sincere apologies for a translator. My name is Dimitrii Ingi, as I was already introduced, and I'm doctoral student from the Lighting Research Group in Aalto, which is located in Helsinki, Finland. And the topic of my presentation today is Urban Lighting Research and PPGIS, a case study and future possibilities. So that's a great pleasure for me to present among such wonderful speakers and also among such a lovely audience. So basically, as I said, perfect. As I said, I'm a doctoral student, so I will be mostly talking about my ongoing research, about my thesis, and kind of activities which I'm doing now. So PPGIS is a short for Public Participation Geographic Information System. So the concept can sound fancy or complicated, but like the term, but the concept behind it is quite easy. So the data we work with comes from a very specific type of surveys, and we actually already heard about it today. And basically, what we have is two components. First component is traditional survey component, and another one kind of a special mapping task. And over past 2 decades, this mapping approach is becoming more and more popular in different disciplines, especially among urban disciplines. But however, this is kind of a challenge there, just because of urban studies. They're usually working with daytime environment and focusing there. And even practice in kind of a urban practice, look at the visualization they make. All of them kind of a beautiful daytime image with the sky, with the clear sky and everything. But we also, especially in Nordic countries, we have a very long autumns, long and dark autumns, and winter times also kind of different. So, as I said, basically, we have two components. The first one is traditional survey component, where we usually ask people about their background information, like age, gender, and whatsoever. Also, we can ask some theme-specific survey questions. For example, in our case, it's usually related to quality of environment, needs, activity levels, and so on. And also, we have this kind of a novel, relatively component, mapping component, which is usually done by points, but also there can be lines, polygons, and once participants made their marking on the map, they also have a possibility to provide some additional information linked to this special geographic attributes or points or lines or whatsoever. For example, development ideas, visit frequency, some preferences, some visions, and so on. Okay. So at the end, data looks like this. We basically have one layer of geographic information, kind of a specific location and coordinates, but also we have a table of attributes where we have some information about participants, their opinions, their kind of open comments, and so on. This PPGIS is mostly about perceptions and subjective data, but also lighting can be displayed in a way as objective data. And I collected few examples. So that can be a lighting map. I'm pretty much sure that most part of you know what is the lighting map, but the idea here that we have a specific geographic position of the lighting features in that case. And also this, for example, blue lines stands for the paths or streets without any lighting. And this is example of a vector data, like where we have points or geometry features and so on. But also it can be like a raster data. In that case, light pollution map for a Helsinki area. And the last example stays for temporal data. In that case, we have this kind of a shadow map, daytime map, As far as I know, the urban planners time to time use them for making the environments and spaces. So in that slide, you can see more objective lighting representation. And having this information in mind, I started my PhD journey with these two key research questions. How to transfer best practices of PPGIS research to lighting field, and another one, so the first one about the subjective data, and how to digitalize lighting environment. This very challenging question, and I'm still struggling with it, to be honest. And we came up with a small-scale case study on a feeling of safety, just because of course, lighting impacts many different experiences of people, but I would say that feeling of safety can be one of the basic ones, if we will talk about this Maslow pyramid, and then like aesthetics, comfort aesthetics, some self-realization. So public participation, GIS for studying feeling of safety. So general aim of this study was to explore possibilities of this approach and find some kind of a new knowledge about the impact of artificial lighting on feeling of safety. But also we have kind of a general vision of the study. Like, imagine if we could involve citizens into urban lighting planning processes, gaining fruitful information for both research and practice. Of course, these two groups have slightly different needs, but maybe the same objective. So, and here is the survey itself. So it was quite simple, and we asked people to mark safe and unsafe places within the studied area. The studied area was campus area in Espoo. And then after that, after they make markings, we giving them the pop-up survey in the beginning, without any kind of a notification about lighting as a research topic, trying to find any kind of reasons why they feel safe or unsafe there. But also the second section of the survey was we asked them to describe the lighting on those places. Like, we use this illustration, for example, to make them easier to understand what can be bright, what can be uniform, what can be glary or non-glary, and so on. And basically, as I said, we have two layers. The first one is kind of a hard GIS layer, how is it called, like objective data. And that was quite a big challenge to find this data. In our case, we work with the data obtained from the city of Espoo, Aalto University Campus Real Estate Company, open data sources like OpenStreetMaps, I don't know if someone familiar, and also we did some in situ visual investigations. In our case, the research area is just a neighborhood, and it was quite easy to do some visual investigation in some, questionable areas. But talking about the city scale, it can be challenging. And on the other hand, we had the data from the survey. We had around 300 markings from 130 participants. And so the idea was to try to find any correlations between these two data sets. Talking about objective layer and analysis we did. So the first layer was the locations of lighting features within the area, outdoor lighting features. We actually don't have a lot of architectural or commercial lighting within the area, so that's why it was chosen. It mostly relies on the functional lighting. Of course, it's difficult to avoid all the commercial lighting or navigation lighting or whatsoever. That was the first layer we worked with. And the second layer, we took street lighting classes within the area for the streets, roads, and passes. So basically, we had two data sets, and then we worked with the spatial data analysis. For example, we were looking for the shortest distance from the safe and unsafe place to say to the closest lighting feature, or we checked to which lighting class this safe or unsafe place belongs to, and some other stuff. I will not go to many details here. And also, I selected few results highlights just because of the work is still in process, but I chosen some which can be interesting for this conference. Strong positive correlation between perceived brightness, perceived overall lighting quality, and perceived feeling of safety was found. Of course, generalization is always a question. I mean, this is only for our participants, for this site, for this country, for this culture and everything. But for our participants, very bright was equal to very safe or very good lighting quality. That's a thing to think about. Participants comment, another finding, participant comment revealed distinct themes based on safety perceptions. Safe places predominantly focus on lighting quality, while unsafe places focus on lighting presence or absence and perceived brightness. So that means that when people comment and do some additional comments on safe places, they will usually talk about colors, design of installations, you know, some dynamic solutions and what so on. But when they give in some additional comments on unsafe places, and unsafe places not only because of the light, they were talking about the absence of lighting, not enough lighting, and so on. And finally, like positive feedback on the method, like general impression survey design was found as well. That means that for general public, I mean, all of our participants were not connected to the lighting field at all. So they were staff or students from the university. And yes, balance is a global urban planning issue. So as far as we know, lighting can impact many aspects of our life, like environmental, city aspects, like a tourist attraction, genius loci, and so on. Also human beings, like well-being of people, health of people, and so on, comfort, and also environment. Let's say light pollution, that's a main topic of our conference today. But of course, balance is the global issue, and time to time we have conflicts between these three aspects. And basically, for example, from this finding, for those, again, for our participants, very bright equaled very good. And that's a big issue. How can we solve this problem? So basically, one of the approaches can be, of course, controls, lighting controls, different lighting schedules. Another thing can be raising awareness of topic. That's also the response here. But actually, I think the evidence-based design and research can be answered here as well. I also put future step and possibilities in the title. Basically, how to transfer best practices to PPGIS research and lighting field. I mean, we are planning to do some further research in urban lighting preferences, restorativeness effects, urban mobility between day and night. Of course, I mean, the daytime and nighttime, people can behave differently. And talking about this point, how to digitalize lighting environment. It's, for example, today we saw some good examples of this lighting panoramas and everything. But the idea that came to my mind that how can we collect all these kind of measurements and data under one roof? I mean, that's an open question just because of, I believe that we need kind of a common platform where we can see like the digitalized, I mean, lighting data there, some findings, for example, let's say in lighting field, it's very popular to do, popular, not a good word, to do field studies. And again, it will be quite good, this field studies, usually georeferenced, so it was some site, and we can see some kind of a results from these field studies there. I mean, further research studies and project on digital twins. Digital twins also can be used for public participation, but in the 3D environment, the use of satellite images, which we saw today, and different measurement approaches. And again, this is more belongs to the digitalizing the lighting environment. We mostly work in this functional lighting layer, but we also have architectural and landscape lighting. We have creative lighting layer and lighting art. We have temporary lighting solution like a holiday seasonal lighting, let's say Christmas lighting. We have lighting festivals. Also, we have visual guidance, commercial lighting, cars flashlights, and so on. And how to come back? Yep. And all of this created a comprehensive lighting environment. And the lack of data, this is a big challenge in this research field. How to find it, just because of, as you know, some lighting is private, some lighting is owned by city, different departments in city. To get this information, even in our case, we had just locations of lighting and we had lighting classes. It was challenging to get this data just because of we really needed to use different sources there and then overlap these sources to get a picture for the neighborhood, let's say. It's much more difficult for the city, I would say. Yes, that's pretty much it from my side. I will be happy to answer any questions, if any.
Thank you. Thank you, Dimitrii. Questions from the audience, please. Does anyone want to? Yes, we have a question there.
My name is Maria Pasanen and I come from Finland, Helsinki, actually.
Sorry? Just one moment, the microphone for the recording.
Thank you. So I come from Finland too. So Espoo is really familiar to me, but one question rises to my mind about the environment or lighting settings. So was there anything else except like a street lighting in the area, research area? So was there any like landmarks or other kind of lighting solutions?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. As I said, it mostly relies on the functional lighting, just because of this is a campus area, no kind of like shopping malls or like commercial lighting, but it's impossible to avoid it totally. Of course, somewhere some architectural lighting was there. It's impossible to avoid it, but mostly area relies on functional lighting.
Yes, do we have any other questions? Please. Any more questions?
Everything was clear.
If no, then I thank you, Dimitrii.